Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Lenox Justifier of Innocence. I'm here as the character Josephine, which is Lenox in human form, and with me in this little guy right here is Mr. Buddy the guard dog. He was sent by the ultimate creator to watch over Lenox. For those of you who are new to this channel, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I hope that you will give it a chance. This is a fantasy justice channel. It's based on true crime and real world events and tragedies. But the characters are all based in fantasy, and it's like a superhero series based on Greek mythology where the gods and superheroes unite in the fight to restore the balance between good and evil on this earth. And they do so by getting justice for those innocents who have been harmed and have not received justice. In this week's episode, we're going to be going through the Diddy case in a little bit more detail. This is the fourth video on this subject. You can go ahead and watch the other ones and get caught up, but go ahead and follow along with this one. We make it easy to be able to just pick up where we're at. And then if you want more backstory, you can go back and just watch those at your leisure. In today's story, we're going to be going through where we think that his case fits in the whole scheme of tragedies and events that have been happening concurrently along with this, and see where everything ties. It's all based on conspiracy. We're just having a little bit of fun trying to figure things out as we go along. So I hope you guys enjoy the ride, enjoy the show, and we will see you at the end for an update as to what is coming next on this channel and with the book. So enjoy the show, guys.
You know, stay connected to God, and He'll bring you out. This is not, we don't control this.
Previously, Josephine had discussed the Diddy case with Ogard in great detail. After discussing the Diddy case with Ogard, Josephine went to work on compiling information on all the recent celebrity deaths dating back 20 years and how it all ties together. The border crisis came into question. It all seems to lead back. With Amalia's help, they went on a deep dive, tracing back the parent companies, the financiers, and the political influences that coincidentally loop back to these incidents. Working out all possible connections in order to find the common denominator. A twisted web with many intricacies. Where do they all lead? This is not just an isolated case involving one sick perp. It is much bigger than that. Lenox is determined to uncover and unravel the dark underbelly plaguing the United States and where it ties globally. Only then can we make strides towards restoring the balance between good and evil in order to save humanity from self-implosion. Let's start with the music industry and Hollywood ties. What we know thus far. Hey guys. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today. I really needed to discuss this with you. I'm just going to go over, some of the main celebrities that we know about. But with Amalia and I's research, we've been able to come up with this chart. So I'm going to be putting it up here and just going through it so that we're all on the same page. And I want to get your input and see what you guys think about the flow, and get your ideas on what your theories are as far as like who's at what level and so forth. So let's start with the music industry, since that's where Diddy is part of. This is what we know so far, and how the music industry and Hollywood ties into everything. In the last, I would say, 15 to 20 years, we've lost a lot of artists. And coincidentally, a lot of those artists have been in disputes with certain companies, right? So here we have, let's start with Prince. Prince had an accidental OD with substances, which we all know that he did not use substances. He was a Jehovah's Witness, and it wasn't part of his lifestyle. However, he was in dispute with his record company. And we want to look at who owns his catalog currently, who benefited from his demise. We also seen that there is evidence that ties him to Diddy via his security. Same thing with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson passed away the same way. Well, not exactly the same. He had the assistance of a doctor there, which they made their sacrificial lamb. I believe that doctor was forced to do those things, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about something a little more serious than that. Now, Michael was also in disputes with these said companies, and Diddy also ties to him. Keep that in mind for later. There are many other deaths, but the most notable ones are Michael, Prince, Whitney Houston. We know Whitney Houston was having some problems of her own, and we all know how she went, and she also OD'd and ended up passing away in the bathtub. We can go all the way back to Tupac and Biggie. Though they did not have ODs, they did, however, have direct involvement with Diddy.
There's so many names.
It's very sad. A lot of what's going on in this industry is just a little tiny piece of a little window into what is happening in our country and what the underbelly, the dark underbelly of our country is. Okay? There are so many more. You have Kim Porter. You have all of these people that are involved with the freak off parties. That's just celebrity fallout at this point. And these are people who some willingly participated and some not so willingly participated, but kept quiet, which makes them complicit.
Awfully suspicious.
So I'm going to put up this chart and go through it with you, and you guys let me know what you think. And then we're going to come up with a game plan as to where to start.
We're definitely going to have to get the crew together. Get some help on this mission.
Molly, can you bring up the chart?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Okay, so we're going to start at the bottom over here. As you can see at the bottom, we have, this represents the border, okay? And here we have, you have your traffickers, the suppliers, your dark web, money launderers, and your gun smugglers, drug smugglers, etc. That's what we have here. And from here, it's all different countries that conspire to use this border in order to gain entry, since it's a weak point currently in our country. So you have Japan, all of South America, parts of Eastern Europe, and China that get smuggled through. People being smuggled through, okay? In addition to this other stuff from different cartels bringing in product. Above them, you have the lower level law enforcement and, just your everyday pedos, people of some clout, like doctors, lawyers, local politicians, the lower level people who have a little bit of money, a little bit of power, and it goes to their head and they start doing some shady stuff, benefiting from the influx of women and children that are being smuggled through the border. Okay. Along with subsisters, of course, because that's how they control them. And then above that, now this is where Diddy fits in this area here. You have the entertainers. Okay. So a lot of these entertainers have been either came through here or, they were basically trafficked in a sense and enslaved by the companies, promising them, fame and wealth and making their dreams come true. Little did they know that they were going to become slaves to the industries. So that's where they fall here. So for example, in this section, you have your entertainers such as, Tom Hanks. Then you have Beyonce, J-Lo, Lady Gaga, DiCaprio, just to mention a few names of well-known celebrities whose names have come up periodically throughout these investigations. We're not putting any blame or making any accusations, just illustrating of a point of the type of celebrities that would be in this section. Okay. Some of these celebrities have been implicated and some have not been implicated in a criminal sense or suspected criminal sense, but they've been implicated as a potential victim. Okay. Above that, now you still tied to the entertainment. Now this is where you have your executives. This is where you have your Clive Davis, your Diddy. You have people like Weinstein, Mottola, McMahon, Oprah. These are the big guns in the entertainment. And these are the ones who call the shots from here and here on that lower level. Okay. Now, if we take Diddy, we're going to focus on that for now. You take him, we want to see where he connects to. Okay. And this is what I was discussing with Ogard. I was telling him how Diddy is sitting in a very powerful place right now. It definitely has some power as far as the information that he holds. He can definitely shed a light as to what is going on above him and help break down some of these organizations. Even if he doesn't know directly the information that he has, the authorities and us can use it to find out who's above and who's in charge and take the whole operation down. Because he's just one of the soldiers. He's an upper. I would say, like, if you look at it on a military level, he would be like a sergeant. Okay. Not a lieutenant or a general, but a sergeant. So then you have, we always say that they throw a bone every so often. So, Weinstein was taken down. Currently, McMahon is going through his legal battles. And we all know what's going on with Diddy and all of his alleged victims. Okay, above that, you have the shadow companies, And let's not forget Epstein. He played a large role in this, but in a different manner. Okay. So above them, you have the shadow corporations, which there's Comcast Media. You have your Hollywood. Then you have WB, Sony Corp, Disney, Netflix, Google, and UMG. Those are the big names that have come up. When you start breaking these down and down here and you see who they worked for, that's how we came up with these names. So when you look at Prince, when you look at Whitney, when you look at Michael Jackson, and you tie back all the companies that they worked for and who those companies tied to, these are the main names that come up over and over again. I don't believe in coincidences. Okay. Above that, we have political recruits. Okay. To name a few, and this is alleged, but to name a few, we have Nancy, Warren, Chuck, Sanders. Sanders is a question mark. AOC, Biden, Harris. You have Waters, Romney, Haley, Sniff, Omar, Bill and Hillary, Barry Soetoro and Michelle, Letitia James, Fannie Willis, and Alvin Bragg, just to name a few. Okay. These are the people in the political realm that have been recruited and benefit from what's going on down here. Okay.
Makes more sense when you see it laid out.
Above them, you have the recruited industries and agencies. Okay. So these have a little more clout than what's down here. So you have your big companies like Meta, and you have Microsoft, you have the FDA, you have the pharmaceuticals, which a lot of people like to call big pharma. You have your medical industry that ties back to the pharmaceuticals. You have the CDC, the FBI, the CIA, and then allegedly TikTok. Okay. Above that, we have the Evil Billionaires Club. Now, these are the people who put pressure on these people and allegedly donate in order to create influence and get their desired results so that they can continue running their operations unscathed. Okay. You have Soros, Johnson & Johnson, Newhouse, Cox, Cargill, Pritzker, Mars, and of course Gates and Zuckerberg. Okay. Above them, now we're getting into it. This is where you see the ties with the assassination attempt and extreme overreach in politics and trying to control the government. They're the financiers, the dirty money. You have Vanguard, BOA, you have Fidelity, BlackRock, and Chase. Out of these, Chase is the biggest. BlackRock is second to Chase. But these companies are completely intertwined in all of this. When I said it's a web with interlocking and a lot of intricacies, that's what it is. They operate in such a manner, even switching ownership of such said artists and then switching back just to keep the suspicion off of them. But when you trace it back, you can connect the dots. Okay. So a lot of these companies are behind all of them. And you can see the connection clearly when you look up financial reports and you look up the histories of these companies and what they own, and basically who's worked for them, who's benefited from them. You can see how it all ties. But above all that, they are still not the ones in complete charge. Above all of them, the most powerful, the richest corporation is Global Data PLC. Global Data PLC is worth more than everyone underneath combined more. Not only that, what's scary about Global Data PLC is that they collect the data on everyone. Everyone. So people were worried about TikTok and Google collecting data. Meanwhile, nobody's even heard of them. Yet they're the largest data collectors globally and the most wealthy bank in the world by a very large margin. Okay. Out of curiosity, I wanted to see who owns them. You know, there's always investors and so forth. We're not worried about them. And so we looked up, we wanted to see who owns them, right? Who's Oz? Who's in charge? Who's the puppet master? And it's the UK. I wasn't expecting that one. I wasn't. I had friends tell me that, Prince Charles and the Crown, to watch out for them, that they were heavily involved and pulling strings behind the scenes. And I thought they were crazy. I was like, I don't know about that one. But who knew? Oz. The UK.
Well, it makes sense. They had such a dark past.
Yeah, I agree, Amalia. It's like, you have all these big empires in the past and they fall, like the Roman Empire. England was once this huge powerhouse that controlled so much in this world. And now they don't really control that much. And I think that now that the Queen is passed on, I think that her successor wants to regain some of that power back. And they're not allies. I don't feel that they're allies in the manner that the United States thinks. I think they secretly are still bitter and want us to fall. And so they manipulate our system and are responsible for financing the dark underbelly of this country. Allegedly. All speculation at this point. But it makes sense. I mean, when you look at history and you look at what is the most celebrated holiday globally, and that's Independence Day from the UK. The most celebrated Independence Day. So, is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. It's something that we are going to have to dig our heels in and find out. So I am going to go pay Diddy a visit, and I'm going to find out exactly what he knows. In as much detail as possible. I will make sure that he pays for his crimes and gives restitution to all of his victims. And in turn, I will take his victims' pain away. They're not going to forget what they've been through, but the pain will subside and they will be able to go on through life at peace and be able to live normal lives. The other thing that I'm going to do is once I get the information from Diddy, I'm going to take that information to further investigate into these head people because they can't get away with what they have done. Diddy's just a small piece. Before we go, I'm going to put this other chart up just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So here's Sony, right? This is map. It's in regards to Sony. And I just picked Sony because this is the parent company of who Diddy worked for. They own Bad Boy Records, Columbia Records, that's where Clive Davis worked for. So a lot of these, when you look at all these subsidiary companies, and this is just under Sony, it's what I mean about the web and how they've broken everything up to make it more difficult to be able to trace. Some of these subsidiaries do not even exist anymore. I think it was RCA. That's where, the Menendez brothers' father worked for. Yeah, that. at RCA. So yeah, some of these don't even exist, but it shows you how often they switch things up so that you can't trace it. And when you go back and you look, a lot of the artists that have fallen have worked for these said companies. And when you trace all of these back to come up with the common denominator, it's who owns them, who owns everything. And that's Vanguard, BlackRock, BOA, Chase, and Fidelity. They're the biggest investors in there. They own the majority of all of them. Now you take each industry and pluck them out, and you do the same thing, and they keep coming up. They keep coming up. So, and now we know where to trace back to. So we got our work cut out for. We got to really dig deep and really investigate. Let's not leave any stone unturned. Let's stop this monstrosity of an industry once and for all. The dark underbelly of this country will cease to exist when we're done. And we'll bring peace, happiness, and a sense of safety back to all the women, children, parents, families, and citizens of this nation. Let's get to work, guys. We got a lot to do. So that concludes this week's episode. I hope that you guys were able to follow along. I know it's a little bit coded. Like I have to somewhat speak in code because I don't want to have any violations, any community guideline violations and so forth. So, you have to be creative on how I say things. But yes, it is a very tricky subject to navigate, and just conspiracy, just theory. Obviously, it's just speculation. It's just for fun for the series. We are a fantasy justice channel after all. Now, next week, we are going to see Lenox go into the prisons and interview P. Diddy himself and get some information on these alleged companies and who the puppet masters are behind everything. So stay tuned for next week so you can see the continuation of the dark underbelly of the United States. And as far as the book, I am making huge progress on all the artwork. And I think that it'll be close to going to, to the next phase after the editing portion. It should be able to get it into production and come out within 2 months. So I'm hoping that we can have it out right before Christmas so you guys can get a copy and, read that over the holidays during your downtime and have fun with the stories. Thank you guys so much for following along. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your week. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of your kids. Thank you for watching. And as always, God bless. See you next week.